All right, second grade, this is an example of how you might use light, medium, and dark in a work of art, and you would vary your pressure. The example in the notebook is the ice cream example, where we looked at the light, the medium, and the dark scoops of ice cream. And that's certainly one way you can do it as well, but I'm also going to show you another way you could do it. You're going to want to choose a dark piece of paper for this, so either a blue or a purple color would be fabulous for this. I'm going to choose purple today, and I went ahead and got the construction paper crayons because we're drawing on construction paper. These will show up beautifully. Notice that they're marked with the square or rectangle on the side of the box. Don't forget to write your name on your paper and your class ID for me, please, when you start. And first what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my subject, and today my subject is a pumpkin. I bought this plastic fake pumpkin at Michael's a couple years ago, and I've used it for multiple projects, including still life projects, but today I'm going to use it for this project. So I'm going to be looking at this pumpkin. You won't be able to see it on the camera because I can't get the right angle for you. It's going to set out here in front of me as I draw it. But when you're drawing your pumpkin, what I would start with is probably the very top. And so because we're at the top of the pumpkin, you want to make sure you're drawing the stem close to the top of the paper then, okay? And I'm looking at the pumpkin as I'm drawing, which you may not be able to see that from here, but that way you kind of know what I'm doing, okay? And I'm drawing with a blue, by the way, because I'm just making a darker color so I can see what it is. You could draw with a pencil first, absolutely, if you're worried about messing up. In fact, I may switch to that just so you can see that I can still draw with a pencil on the dark paper. Might not be quite as easy to see as normal, but I am trying to draw it accurately, so I'm kind of stopping talking and just looking. Now you might not be able to see my pencil on camera, so what I'm going to do is go back and trace over those lines with my crayon, just in case you can't really see where I have been so far with my pencil. All right, now that I'm finished drawing the pumpkin, I've got it the way that I want it, I am going to start coloring it in. But since we're doing light, medium, and dark, when you're coloring with pencil, you can press lighter, you can press darker, or press harder to make it darker, I should say. And I'm going to do it a little differently on this one. I'm actually pulling out the oranges here and getting a little paper peeled off. Now, I'm not sure which orange I'm going to like better, so I'm actually turning my paper over on the back and trying them out first here. And for now, I like this darker orange, but this is kind of a yellow orange, which I will also be using, so I'm going to keep that out. I think this one is too. I grabbed it thinking it was a different color, but it's not. I think it's the same. So if you aren't sure, you can always test it on the paper in the back too. I'm also going to want a yellow color. I'm also going to want a white color, and they don't make red in these, but I want to find the darker, like pinkish red. It kind of is a dark pink instead of the light pink. You'll see the light pink in there as well. Here's the light pink, so you can maybe see on the camera the difference. Okay, so when you're coloring your pumpkin in, obviously your pumpkin is orange, so you can spend some time coloring this orange pumpkin, but here's the trick. This pumpkin is curved, so I want to color where the curves are going. And so right here on this side, the curve is kind of rounded up. This side is going to be rounded down. So when I come down here to color this side of the pumpkin, I'll be curving my lines the other way as I color. That will also give it the illusion of, or the trick of it looking like it's actually 3D. And so it'll look like it's more popping out of the page than just, you know, laying flat on the paper. So I'm going to go back in, I kind of curve the outside edges, and in between I'm going to kind of make it a little more straight in the middle of the pumpkin because it's kind of coming out towards me. And I'm just putting down a light coat. I'm not making a real effort yet to color everything in solid. I just want to get an orange base down. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish filling in these other sections, making sure that I'm also curving my lines now the way that the pumpkin is curving instead of going the opposite way or side to side, because that's not the way it goes either. So make sure that you know that little trick that I am doing as well to help your pumpkin turn out well. All right, now you can see that I finished coloring in my pumpkin, and I also added the back of the pumpkin, which I'd forgotten to draw, and then I found a brown and put a little bit of brown on my stem to get started. Now to add the light part into the pumpkin, what I'm gonna do is take either the white or the yellow, which I think I'll try yellow first, and you're gonna add some of that yellow in on the top areas of the pumpkin. And so in each section, not coloring across the whole thing again, but in each section I'm going to kind of color up and down, and again going back and forth in the direction that the pumpkin actually is moving, or the lines are moving I should say, on here. Okay, so I'm kind of curving it in the direction of the pumpkin over here to the side and in the back here. And this is kind of where the light is shining on the top of the pumpkin. I'm gonna add a little white here in a minute, right above that, like this. It's not a lot, it's subtle, meaning it doesn't show up a lot, but there is just enough there that it makes a difference. Now it's important to notice that I did not make a straight line across here and color only to a straight line. Some of the yellow is down further than other spots, so it's kind of got a more realistic look than if I just made a straight line. So make sure that you also notice that and don't like make a straight line on yours, okay? Now for the shadow at the bottom of the pumpkin, where the light is not really reaching to because you know it curves around, I'm going to add some of that red to each section at the bottom, again curving it around to the lines of the pumpkin. All right, now at the bottom, I'm gonna add a shadow with this blue color that I had been using. I'm gonna kind of color a rounded edge here, but it's gonna go off the page because you're just not gonna see it all since I drew my pumpkin so large. I have the pumpkin basically from the top to the bottom of the paper. So when I'm coloring my pumpkin in, there's not a whole lot of room left to add the shadow because I drew it so large. That's okay. If you do the same, you'll have a little room for the shadow, probably not much either. And then if you draw yours smaller, you'll have a little more room for your pumpkin shadow. Make it just kind of round on the edges here. If I was doing the whole pumpkin's shadow, it would obviously come down like the shape of a pumpkin kind of in this direction, and then I would color it with the blue. You could even add a little of this blue shadow on the very bottom edges of your pumpkin too, where you just added some of that red. I'm not going to add much because I want the red to really be the dark shadow more so than the one on the table. Okay, and so that, my friends, is how you can draw another type of picture using light, medium, and dark in an artwork. Have fun trying a pumpkin.